Hi, welcome back to Burning River Bushcraft. Behind me here is one of my favorite trees. It's the Black Walnut. This is the leaf structure you're looking for to identify the tree. But what we're after today is the nut itself. This is the green husk. These nuts have not matured yet. They have not dropped from the tree. So it's going to be a perfect time for me to harvest these and use some natural primitive dye. Now in just a few minutes time, I've got plenty to work with here. You can also see how it's starting to dye my hands. This is just kids play compared to what we're going to get into. So obviously you're going to want to wear gloves if you're concerned with staining your hands. It's going to happen. So in just a few minutes time, I've collected a large haversack full. So let's get these back to campsite and we'll carry on. So now it's time to process these black walnut hulls. I've got a hammerstone here and a big rock I can use for an anvil. This is going to get your hands dirty. It's just something you're going to have to deal with. Your hands will be dyed after this, but that's kind of the properties we're looking for. And then here's what we're getting out of this. The nut's not mature yet. It's not ready to actually be harvested. So I'm smashing it open and you see I'm already getting the iodine on my hands. So I'm going to separate the nut from the husk itself. The husk is what I'm after today. And again, anything primitive, I mean obviously it's simple by nature. So you can see in just a little bit of time I've got this bush pot filled up. Next step, I'm going to fill it up with water, get it on the fire, and I'm going to boil this down and make a decoction. So as long as I harvested black walnuts already to try some natural dyes, I'm going to try a few more. Now this plant here is goldenrod, and this is also known for its properties as a natural dye. Now this stand behind me here is covered in honeybees, so this is going to be an interesting process to see who wins. But there is plenty of goldenrod to go around. I'm not taking anything from the bees. Hopefully they'll understand that and work with me a little bit. So I got out of that one okay. Now my keen survival instincts tell me that the plants that aren't buzzing are going to be the best ones to use for dye. You know, a few minutes time, got a bush pot full of goldenrod. Now this other resource that I'm going to be utilizing today as a natural dye has more than one use. And that's going to be wild grapes. Now if I can pick enough to get them in the pot instead of eating them all, we'll be ahead of the game. So I got about 3/4 of a pot. Better quit while I'm ahead. All right, back to the fire ring. We're gonna get a fire going. We're gonna get all these on the boil. But I finally got all 3 pots over the fire. I'm going to bring them to a boil, and I believe I'm going to either raise them up quite a bit or take them off and set them beside the fire. I want to bring it to a boil, but I want to simmer it for, maybe an hour or so. So the goldenrod took up so much bulk of the pot, I didn't get that much water in there, and I'm down to 3/4 of a pot of water already. So I'm going to keep that backed away from the fire a little bit. My grape was rolling quite a bit, quite heavy. So I've got that backed away. I'm going to let this cook pretty hard. I'm going to let that boil pretty hard. And the black walnut hulls, that's a good rolling boil. I'm going to let that go a little bit, and I'll keep you informed. So all my pots have been boiling for an hour now, and I've had a change of heart. I am not going to add water to the black walnut decoction. What I'm afraid of is I'm afraid of diluting the thick mixture that I've got right now. So it is a little over half a pot on pretty much all of them. So I'm going to take them all off the fire, let them cool down, and then I'm going to strain the solids out. So our dyes had a chance to cool down. I'm going to start with the goldenrod. So I'm going to use this bucket here just to strain and transfer. Then I'm going to actually dye the fabric back in the original bush pot after I rinse it out, get the ashes and debris out of it. The color looks kind of like a brownish green. So this is a second white bandana, and here's the grapes. It looks like we're making grape jelly, which essentially we are at this point. Okay, so we made Bushcraft grape juice. And here's the grapes cooked down. I'm going to go rinse this out in the pond, rinse the rag out, and then we'll soak this in the straight dye. Okay, here's a clean pot. We can see, you know, the dye's already working, and this is just a quick pass through. Here's our grape juice. Okay, so I'm sure this is going to work great. So I saved the best one for last. This was the point of this whole video, was the black walnuts. Now, Black Hat Bushcraft has a video out on making an antiseptic wash with this. Like I said before, in this case, I am strictly focusing on its ability to dye fabric. But the black walnut is a great medicinal tree, edible tree. The carving wood on it's wonderful. Okay, for this one, I've been saving this big 3x3 bandana. And you can see in there it's pretty dark. You know, you can dye traps with this stuff also. This is pretty potent stuff. So you can see right away the color we're going to get. You know, it's a nice coffee kind of color to it. So the green hulls from this are actually poisonous to fish. This is a survival fishing technique, would be to float like a bandana like this, get some green hulls like I had before, go ahead and crush them up, put them in slow moving water, and it's actually going to kill the fish. Now, a big pond like I'm dealing with probably isn't going to affect anything. You know, a fast running water, again, cycling water through so quick, it's not going to affect anything. But in the right situation, that's something you got to keep in the back of your mind, that black walnut hulls will produce food for you beside the nut itself. So here's our black walnut back in the bush pot. And I'm going to put this 3x3 fabric in here. And like I said, you can see the color it got just from a simple pour through. You can see it's dyeing my fingers a little bit also. So this is goldenrod after maybe 10 minutes. You know, it's already, you know, changing the color. It's kind of an off green, I guess. This is the grape after maybe 5 minutes. You know, it's taking that stain big time. And then black walnut after maybe 2 minutes. Nice. So I'm going to go ahead and let these soak overnight, and then we'll cut back in with the video, and I'll show you after the cloth has been taken out of the dye and dried off. So our cloths have been in the dye for about 18 hours now, and everything's definitely taken color. This is the goldenrod. You know, it's got like kind of a greenish yellow tint to it. And again, you know, besides the use as a dye, the goldenrod has, you know, a ton of medicinal uses also. So you see that was stark white when we started. Okay, now that's going to dry lighter. So I've got a line here hanging behind me. I'm going to hang all these up and let them completely dry, and I'll give you a picture of those also. This one really surprised me. The grape one really took its color well. As far as grape juice goes, it's a little sour. It could definitely use some sugar. But it's multi-purpose. Kind of tastes like a rag. But that's an awesome color. It turned out really well. Not exactly sure why I need to dye anything purple in the woods, but if I do, I found the source for the dye. And the black walnut, you know, this was the focal of the whole video here, was the black walnut. And you see it's got that nice tobacco kind of coffee look to it. Highly medicinal, as well as a dye. Has that same smell like when you're carving walnut. And this is the big rag here. You know, it took the dye fairly evenly. Where I used it initially to strain it out, it seems like it's a little bit darker. But we'll let it dry and see how it evens out. If I was going to do this again, I would strain with a different cloth than my end result was going to be. But this is definitely fit in the woods. This will look more at home than, you know, a stark white rag like I had before. So now all my fabric's completely dried, and the results are pretty nice. You know, this is my big 3x3 bandana. You know, that has a nice kind of natural bark look to it. There's a few spots that are darker than others. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but that is where I actually strained, you know, the solids off. So again, if I was going to do this again to get more consistent results, I would have one dedicated handkerchief that I would only drain with. Then I would use my, you know, my end result fabric in the straight dye itself. But this is a nice color. I've got a canvas anorak that this color would look really nice on. You know, that would help me blend into the woods and make it more of a 3-season coat. The goldenrod, it's kind of a lighter green, tan kind of color. You see the two together. I mean, this definitely is going to help you blend into the woods. The purple came out extremely purple. You know, the dye worked good. This was absolutely the best dye, was the grapes. This took color nearly instantly. Again, I can't really find a good reason to dye all your stuff purple in the woods. You know, if you find me lost and I'm out there dyeing everything I own purple, you probably should leave me there, because I've been in the woods too long. But at least you know now it works. So this has been Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. See you next time.